Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Young, thank you for being here. I want to talk a little about the overall spend number on this budget and what it does to our national debt. Many of the colleagues on my side of the aisle are seriously concerned about this seemingly insurmountable debt, and in fact, that concern is shared by members from both sides of the aisle. And I think it's been recently made much worse by this administration spending, and I think it'll be catastrophic potentially for our nation if this proposed budget should become law. So I'd just like to hear from you whether you share those concerns. Are you concerned about the long-term impact of our burgeoning national debt on the future of the country?
Congressman, I hope you see that the concern from the administration by our willingness to put offsets on the table that pay for all of the president's proposals.
But we still have growing deficits going out year after year, over $1 trillion per year. When I last served on this committee in the 115th Congress, the then director of the CBO, Keith Hall, used the term sovereign debt crisis, which was a new term to me, but he described the situation that we will eventually be in, and that will be a real shock to our nation's system. And your predecessor, then OMB Director Mick Mulvaney, he added some color to his remarks at a subsequent hearing and said that eventually we're going to balance the budget. It's either going to be through proper congressionally driven avenue, or it's going to be by printing a bunch of money, or through having a future lender force fiscal responsibility on us as a condition of future borrowing. And unfortunately, the budget right now is in much worse shape than it was when those comments were made. And despite that, the way I see it, the president with this budget and with the spending that we seems to have taken a new approach. And I think this administration has chosen to just simply ignore the debt crisis entirely and instead go on this massive spending spree. And it's going to be paid for by massive tax increases. It's going to impact every single American. Now, you've said, the president has said, and I think falsely, that this budget proposal will only increase taxes on the wealthiest Americans. But in fact, it is out of control government spending, and the printing and borrowing that's necessary to pay for it is already causing a steep rise in inflation. And if you don't believe that, look at last month's report. It shows that inflation in April reached its highest level in 40 years. And I fear that this is just the beginning of what we're going to see for years to come due to this monetary policy. Inflation's a real tax on working class Americans. They're already feeling it. You feel it at the gas pump today. You can feel it at the grocery store if you're remodeling your home, buying a new home, building a new home. Inflation is very, very real. So, Ms. Young, if inflation continues to rise at this current alarming rate, if we continue to see those kind of reports, are you prepared to roll back some of these spending proposals?
Congressman, I think this administration, this country are lucky to have the economists this administration does, from Janet Yellen to C.C. Rouse. We don't see those long-term economic indicators that lead us to believe we're going back to inflation levels of the 70s. We see short-term issues, certainly coming out of a pandemic. That is not surprising, but we see those as short-term, but we do absolutely continue to monitor. And I'd like to also point out that this budget does assume increased interest rates throughout the out years. We try to present a responsible vision of where we see things.
I'm sorry, I want to stop you on that. I just want to get another quick question in. So do you believe that we can just tax our way out of debt, or do you think that economic growth is a factor that we should be considering in reducing debt? Because the economic growth figures, the projected numbers in your budget are pretty dismal going forward for the next 10 years. So just, how do we get out of debt? Can we tax our way out, or is economic growth a factor?
Congressman, the one place we'll agree is our economic figures. Thankfully, this country, due to the vaccine effort, has grown faster than we imagined in this budget, and you will certainly see updates of those economic measures as we do the mid-session review.